Hey everyone, welcome back to your favorite sales podcast. I'm your host, Ross Rich, and today we have a very special episode of 10 out of 10 GTM. We have the legend Colin Specter. You might see him at your local sales conference or on LinkedIn, making it happen for Orum. So yeah, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to connect today.
Thank you so much, Ross. Truly a pleasure to be on the show. I think we just saw each other at a show. Speaking of, on the sales circuit of conferences and trade shows down in Miami at the CRO Assembly. So great to see you
Yeah,
here over Zoom and excited to meet.
that was fun. And yeah, I'll see you in, I think, was it 3 days from now as well at the Pavilions GTM Summit. So
That's
definitely
right.
catching it at all the places to be. But yeah, today I'm really excited for this one as someone, who also talks a lot about sales excellence and execution, both for your own team as well as through Orum. Um, and we're going to be diving into two main topics today. One that's probably more kind of cultural and inwardly focused, and then one that's more outwardly focused. So excited about that. But before we get into it, for folks that don't know you, who haven't been longtime followers like myself, would love to hear a bit about yourself and how you found your way into revenue leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. So Colin Specter, leading revenue at Orum, and I've been the sales and revenue leader at Orum for the past 5.5 years. So I joined the company as the first sales hire aside from the founding team. So I was the
Hmm.
first kind of outside the founding team sales hire, first formal W-2 hire. And in the beginning, I was so early, I had to set up the payroll system and like set up a benefits plan for the business. And we were bootstrapped and now we're a Series B company, 120 people. So have like really kind of scaled the value into my title of head of sales. I always carried that title of VP and SVP
Yeah.
and so it's been a journey. And prior to Orum, and Orum's in the sales technology space, I was at Namely and had a great run there for 5 years. Similar story. We did 0 to 70 million in ARR over that 5 year run, and was with them from seed round to Series D. And then went on and then back on another run here. So I'm early stage.
Crazy enough to sign up for it again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, much more early stage experience than big co experience for the audience. So just like that's my perspectives might be different than others at large co and all that. But yeah.
Totally. And before shift gears again, I have one genuine question because as a founder building out our own go-to-market team, read a lot of advice out there on the right way to scale sales organizations. And you didn't follow the typical SaaStr Jason Lemkin advice in terms of hiring, your first few reps, then CSMs, then bringing on a leader. I'm curious to hear, obviously it's been successful. You guys, have been on a tear. What are your learnings or advice for other people out there thinking about scaling their own team and the trade-offs between hiring someone like yourself to help scale out, doing everything from payroll to hiring those first AEs and then now bringing on, managers and directors, um, versus the standard approach.
I think it comes down to like, look, if you have someone that is a true builder and they want to be that salespreneur and they could be a great closer and a great leader and there are those people out there. And so I think if you find the right person, like, yeah, bring them on. Um, we there was at Orum, there was founder-led sales in the beginning, and so our founder had done a great job, and the founding team, Terry, Patrick, Jason, Karthik, Ayush, they had done a great job landing some initial customers, and so I wasn't starting from scratch from like a logo. I had some referenceable customers, and in part of my interview process was like I wanted to meet these customers, I wanted to hear like how it was going and just their excitement for the value and the
Mhm.
technology, and then the team like got me excited about coming to build and scale sales. So I always had the VP title, but I was really an SDR in the beginning. Like I was
Yep.
AE as an SDR, I was a payroll and HR manager, and then as we scaled, I was able to shed the skin of each role. Right, I was able to pass payroll off to like an ops person. I was able to pass SDR work off to our first SDR hire, and then eventually hired AEs under me and was able to pass that and be more of the manager and overseer from that perspective. And then I hired managers and I hired directors. And now I'm like, okay, I'm more of a VP now. And so it as you grew it organically scaled the org basically. It's the way we did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
High risk, high reward.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You got to make sure, you got a good skin in the game to take that risk on for sure. So,
Totally, totally. Amazing. Well, shifting gears, the first thing we're going to talk about, I love this, is, you know, one of the parts about sales that I've always loved and, why I wanted to start Accord in the first place is the idea of ownership as a salesperson or sales leader. And the first piece you have around execution excellence is you have two levers every day. You have attitude and activity. What does that mean to you, and why are those kind of your two things you think about?
yeah, look, like, especially in today's environment with the news and interest rates and election at this time of year, everything going on, there's so many uncontrollables in the world, right? And so, like, the best thing you can do is focus on the controllables. And I tell my team every week, every Monday, we have a weekly sales all hands. There are two levers you can control every day: your attitude and your activity, right? And you can pull on those levers no matter what's going on around you every single day. Those habits of activity, and we prescribe the specific inputs and activity that you should be doing every single day as a part of your job to get you to the score and success that you want at the other side of that. And then from an attitude perspective, different behaviors that can set you up holistically as your best self, your best person. And so also part of what we do on our Sales Monday calls is something around positive mindset, whether it's breath work or goal setting or doing a positivity journal entry, or we basically try to arm our team and our people with different tools that they can pull on to keep it like a healthy mindset, like
Mm,
holistically. Because if you're your best self, right, then you're going to show up better for your customers, your prospective customers, your peers, your partners. And so that's something in your control, right? Did you do enough positive behaviors that will lead you to like healthy outcomes for you? And then did you do enough of the healthy activities for the business that lead to your success, your personal goals and the business goals, right? Your calls, your prospecting, your customer facing meetings, your follow-ups, right? So those are all in my control every single day. Doesn't matter what the interest rates are. Doesn't matter what the weather is, right? Unless my internet goes out. But then, I don't know. But like just simple ways to think about it. Like, and if you get people focused on that, then you're going to win the game. It's when
mhm.
you lose focus and you confuse your mind and you get distracted that things can go awry typically. So.
Totally. And why do you think there's such an obsession with the activity side of things versus the attitude side of things from a management perspective? Like, I would say, in my career and what I hear from leaders, I would say it was 97% approximately activity and tactics related versus that mindset. And I would say, especially with what you guys are working on with calling, it's the nonverbal, it's almost like the non-specific words you're saying and the things you're doing is the reasons why people buy a lot of the time. So curious to get your take on why that seems to be so undervalued.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wrote a post on this recently, and it's not that the activities have changed. It's the same activities, but you need to layer your attitude on top of that. And so I say the triple C. You gotta have conviction for what you represent, because that's going to show up in your tone of voice when you're talking to someone, and you're convinced that you can help them, and you're excited about that. And part of that is you care. You genuinely care about them and their outcomes. And when you care, you're going to have more conviction about helping them, especially when you
Mhm.
have conviction for your solution and what you represent. That's going to lead you to ensuring and qualifying them that you can help them. And the key piece of qualifying them is your curiosity, right? So
Mm.
when you wrap your curiosity, like, I'm curious if I can help you because I'm convinced of my value, and I'm curious, genuinely curious if I can help you because I care. And if I can help you, I have full conviction we're going to win together. And I
Yeah.
want to partner with you on this evaluation, and I want to climb the mountain, and I'm going to invest my energy, time, and effort with you to get a deal done and get something done together and do something great together. And so that when you wrap that on top of the activity, right? So like if I'm making calls, I might have a 50 call per day metric. And in the past, maybe you got by just sending 50 automated emails. Maybe you got by just hitting 50 calls. But with connection rates today, with email reply rates today, like when you get those precious at bats, if you're not wrapping around the attitude, the care, the conviction, the curiosity, like a real like tone around those activities, they're
Hmm.
going to fall flat, right? So buyers have become wise, right? And buyers, like, their time has gotten even as precious with the plummeting reply rates. Like, they're really scarce with their time because of so much going on in the world. So you have to really earn the right to the conversation, and you got to, as my pal Jen says, you have to give a shit, right? You have to really show them you care about them. And that comes through in your tone, in your preparation, and everything you've put in to earn that conversation. So
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think as a junior rep and manager, I always thought about that as just doing the right things in terms of the activities, and just people are who they are, and didn't really look at that as a lever from a leadership perspective. So that's a good reminder for everyone. Also, on top of that, it's far more fun and rewarding to approach it like that. I feel like a lot of people burn out in sales that don't have leaders who teach them how, to put up with a rejection, right? This isn't normal life. Sales is not like your day to day. You don't go around and have the vast majority of people say no to you or not respond to you. It's very weird if you haven't kind of come up in that world. And I think
yeah,
taking that approach of like, I'm reaching out to people because I can help them, and I
yes,
need to sift through. I need to help them. What I'm doing is helping them prioritize this because it's going to be the thing that helps them if I talk to the right people at the right time. And that's how I've internalized sales, and I have a lot of fun with it. But if you don't, and you're just trying to hit these numbers and it's all about activity, it feels brutal, right?
it does. Yeah, 100%. And so, like, look, like, as much as you can do upstream too, of like, let me get a good sense of like the type of companies that I have a feeling I can help. And then if you're unsure, like, look, as much qualification you can do up front, the better, right? But like, you may not have all the answers, and you also need to find a champion. And so when you actually get someone on the phone, you can come in with that curiosity. It's like, hey, I think I can help, but I'm not sure. Like, you mind if I ask you a few quick questions to help fill in some of the blanks here? Like, I was doing my research. I saw your recent white paper on talent management, and I think that we can help some of your talent gaps there, right? But I'm not quite sure. Do you mind if I ask a few quick questions to confirm that?
Yeah,
And if we can help you, great. Like, I have some options first, and if not, like, no worries. Maybe I can make a recommendation somewhere else. So.
totally, totally. Well, shifting gears from the attitude side to activity,
Yeah.
how do you stack rank the most? There's endless things to do as a seller, right? Am I spend more time with the opportunities that I have, with the accounts that I have? I'm going to find new ones. Like, am I going to do research? Or am I going to reach out to them more? Like, how do you think about with your team the right prioritization of the right activities to spend their time?
Yeah. Well, I think you have to look at, if you have some data, well, first of all, you need to do activity to get data, and then to see what your
Yeah.
conversion metrics are and where you need help on certain behaviors, right? Like, I'll give you a classic simple example is like, you have a new SDR team. You need to implement some baseline metrics. Like, if you're starting from scratch, like, okay, we're going to do, 30 net new prospects per day. We're going to execute 50 call tasks per day. Let's assume you spent a few days adding those 30. And then we'll start to get a sense of like our KPIs. Like, okay, of 50 calls, how many picked up? Of how many picked up, how many were I able to do a good conversation with? Of those good conversations, how many led to a qualified opportunity? Okay, great. Now I have some baseline metrics, and then let me see what the pattern looks like for at least a couple weeks, and then I can start to make adjustments to the KPIs or to the behaviors. I don't know the answer until I have some baseline data. So, like, you got to have baseline KPIs. I hear from companies all the time, like, oh, we just focus on the outcomes, but you need to have baseline metrics that your team can fall back to, and it needs to be the baseline metrics and then some. Like, the and
Mhm.
then some is like their art of the sale. Like, they might have a creative way to break into accounts and do video and do whatever it is, but you need to have a baseline playbook that people know, hey, these are the leading inputs, that the activities I should be doing every single day
Yeah.
that will lead to success at the end. And I'm going to find the and then some to get me to my accelerators and like help the team rewrite the playbook. And maybe it's less activity and different pitch, right? When I get them on the phone or whatever the behavior is. But you got to have some baseline KPIs. It's not KPIs for KPI's sake. It's KPIs because like sales is a game of inputs. It's a game of daily habits.
Hmm.
That's what it's like. If I want to get a toned body, I got to do my push-ups. I'm going to do my 25 push-ups a day. But unless I'm doing those 25 push-ups, I don't know if my form is wrong. I don't know if my elbows are
Yeah,
out.
what are you optimizing for? You're gonna
And
do one really well. You need a baseline, yeah, number of
yes,
activities to optimize on. Yeah.
exactly. So, if I have 50 calls, then I can start to look at the tone of voice of my reps, their opener, their hook, their qualification questions, their urgency, their next step close, are they calling the right person? So there's just so much that goes into measuring what happens on the activity, but you need activities as a starting point. So like, I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the first point on that.
No, that's a really good perspective. I think I sometimes get into the over optimizing because maybe you take for granted a lot of managers and leaders or top performers. You take for granted those baselines that you just have in the back of your head. Yeah, obviously we need to be talking to customers to be able to optimize for how we're talking to customers. But
Right.
sometimes you spend so much time talking about the optimizations, you realize, well, we're not talking to anyone. So what's the point of all this, all these best practices?
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. And then once you have some metrics, right? Like, okay, let's move away from SDR world. Let's say I'm an AE. Then I need to look at, okay, once I've gone through a season of deals and business, like where does my pipeline come from? Right? Okay, now I have discovered 30% of my pipeline is coming from customers. So then that can start to inform where do I put my activities? Well, now I'm going to do 70% on outbound, maybe 30% on customers. Or because my customers close faster and bigger, they trust me more, maybe I can skew that number more and maybe but until you have the metrics, once you have the metrics, you can play within it and you can start to like adjust a bit and see, well, what happens when I do this? But you got to have something in place to measure and make those informed opinions on.
Totally, totally. Well, shifting gears away from those two levers, we talked about attitude, we talked about activity. The last piece, we're going to be talking about not chasing foul balls, something about surfboards, ruthlessly qualifying the number one resource we have as, as people, but especially as sellers and sales leaders, which is time.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a saying internally, don't chase foul balls, right? And the reason for that is you only have so much energy and time. And if, foul balls, that comes from a baseball analogy, right? So like, if you're playing in the field, someone hits the ball, and if you're sprinting for these foul balls, it's rare you're going to catch the foul ball, right? But you've just burned your energy on that foul ball in that time. And then when there's a good infield play that like you can make, you may not have as much energy remaining for that play, right? You should
Hmm.
focus on the infield plays and ones you can make. Don't go chasing a foul ball. And so that's about ruthlessly qualifying who you're spending your time with, who you're investing your time with, right? And so looking for the key ingredients in what makes a successful champion and account and customer for your business and for you and for your goals and your pipeline. It's like I'm constantly thinking about, is this a person that is going to be my champion? Do they have the right ingredients as a business to be successful with my product?
Hmm.
And if the answer to those two questions is true, then it's ruthlessly qualifying how soon are they looking to get something in place and how soon can they move mountains to get something in place? And that's going to help me qualify and triage how I prioritize my time, energy, and effort with them, right?
Hmm.
And just to give another metaphor for maybe the non-baseball people out there, there's a great story told by former CRO of Trip Actions, and this story resonates with me as a surfer as well. And he tells the story of a tour guide, a boat tour group out in the San Francisco Bay Area that would go and do these shark tours. And so they wanted to go take people out to go see like the great white sharks. And what they used to do is they would tow surfboards off the back of the boat to attract the sharks because the sharks thought the surfboards were seals, right? Because sharks eat
Hmm.
seals.
Yep.
But what wound up happening, and it was cool for the tourists that got to take pictures of the sharks, but the sharks, they only have so much energy to go hunt food. And if you think about it, they're used to like exerting all this energy to like bump a seal and like daze the seal and then eat the seal. They're using that same level of energy to go bump a light surfboard, and then there's no food at the end of it. These sharks were running out of energy to eat, and they were actually starting to kill the local shark population as a result, because these sharks were like exerting all their energy chasing surfboards. And the surfers also hated it too, because there's like a lot of surfers in Ocean Beach and that area of San Francisco. And like
Yeah.
all these freaking boats are like making sharks think surfboards are seals. And so these they were hurting the shark population. So they put a stop to that. But it's a great metaphor because we're shark. Not that salespeople are sharks, but we're hunters out there. We only have so much energy to go
It
out.
takes a lot to go into that thing
Yes,
and make it happen. Yeah.
that's the point, right? It's like you don't want to run after the foul ball. You don't want to exert your energy to get that seal, but it's really a surfboard, and then you don't have any food to feed yourself, and you've run out of energy, you've run out of time, and now you've starved your pipeline, you've starved your quota, and you don't want to do that. And so, how do you tell the difference between a surfboard and a seal? And
Yeah.
that's ruthless qualification.
And how do you help folks with that? Right. Because what I found when it comes to who to spend time with, is for me, it's really instinct. I'm not like, well, let me look up the size business and all this. Like, right, that's not what you're doing. Yes, marketing team might be doing that to pick the right heuristics when it's data driven, but like as a seller, you're getting this inbound lead, right? I think when you've been at a company for a couple of years, you can go to I can go to a landing when I was at Stripe for 5 years. I can go to a landing page, a company, and like I had the instinct around what they sold, what size of the company, stage, all this stuff where I like 90% likelihood could decide if it's a qualified deal or not, even before talking to them, seeing
Right.
who it was, a bit about their back, all this stuff. How do you help accelerate building that instinct with your team on where to spend the time?
Yeah, I think again, depending on where you are in your stage of a business, more mature company will have more data and insight. I think this as soon as you get some customers that are healthy for your business and renew, right? You're going to have great data to look at, like what makes them healthy and renew and good adopters of our product or service, and whatever that is becomes part of your qualification. And so then you enable your SDR team or your AE team, whoever's generating pipeline, your marketing team on the form fills and scoring and account insights. You want to get to a place where you can really identify like what are the key ingredients of that business and of the buying committee people
Yeah.
that makes this a really healthy deal and customer for my business. And so like I'll give you an Orum example just to get
Yeah.
very tactical, right? Like Orum is an AI live conversation platform. We're a really smart and sophisticated phone system for sales teams. We ruthlessly qualify on, do you have the operational readiness and infrastructure to take advantage of our phone platform? Typically, that means you need to have call scripts in place. You need to have a calling culture already, meaning your reps already do calls and you're looking for more efficiency there. You're looking for better productivity out of your team that
Yeah.
is already used to this motion
You're
of
doing the
talking to
activity, as
humans.
you say. Yeah. You're already doing the thing and you're trying to
They're
optimize
already
it.
doing a thing and you're trying to optimize
Yeah.
it, make it better, right? And so by and large, we qualify for that because those people, they're going to get it day one. Time to value is instant. Now, you might think, well, what about a large organization going through a transformation and they want to get there? Now, I think if the juice is worth the squeeze and we train our team on this, and especially in the upper mid-market enterprise, yes, like great, like let us help you through this transformational journey. But you have to then qualify on, do you have a champion? And we define a champion as somebody with authority and influence, and they have a personal win, and they believe you are the partner that's going to help them, and they're selling on your behalf because they believe that you're the right one to get them to the promised land of getting my sales culture back on the phones because email has plummeted, marketing's not delivering what they used to, and I want my reps to, have better prospecting capabilities, and I'm willing to put the infrastructure in place in partnership with you. And I know that I've got, 100 reps or whatever, and it's worth it on both sides to invest the infrastructure to be operationally ready. Now, that's not every account. Like I think you need to really qualify which accounts you do that with, which opportunities, and you need to decide like what that value is, because those take far more energy, effort, and you don't want that to be a surfboard. You want that to be a seal that you're climbing up, you're thrusting up through the water to hunt. So just some of the ways we think about it.
No, it's super helpful. Yeah, there's definitely, I think, more leadership teams could be doing to help make sure that their folks on the field aren't chasing everything
They
and
get
help build that
happier.
instinct faster than having to be there for 3 or 5 years.
Yeah, like most sales reps, they just get happier. Is like somebody comes inbound, but maybe they're just kicking the tires, and maybe they are. And I actually just had this happen. There was like a RevOps guy came inbound, was like really excited about, a phone system, and his reps making calls. And we got excited about the logo. We got excited about the fact they were taking demos from other people like us. It's like, oh, it must be qualified. They're
Yeah, it's an
talking to us like
evaluation. Yeah.
peers. It's an evaluation. But this person is a coach. They didn't have buy-in from the executive leadership to like be a change agent. They just
Hmm.
were hopeful that, through this groundswell, something might actually happen. But if there's no buy-in from leadership, if there's no true spark to ignite the fire across the team to bring this change, not going to happen. No champion, no deal. So
Totally. Yeah, especially at a bigger organization. But I know you got a million things going on, and we'll catch up some more next week in Austin. But Colin, this was awesome. Thanks so much for sharing some of your tips and tricks around execution excellence.
that's awesome, Ross. Such a pleasure. Yeah, look, safe travels. Look forward to seeing you on the circuit. And to your audience, thanks so much for tuning in. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn, or you can check out Orum.com, ORUM as in mother.com, if you're interested in checking out our phone solution. Thanks so much.